Hello, back for another episode of Wild Woman podcast. Delighted that you're here today. I've another beautiful guest with me. Her name is Anne Barnett, and she's a mother and holistic practitioner, and she's based near me in Galway on the west coast of Ireland. And we were introduced, I think, over a year ago. We talked about doing this interview and podcast together quite a while back, and something very interesting has unfolded that's led us to do it now. And I will share a little bit of that when I introduce Anne, but it's been really, I think it's been really important for me to have gone through what I've gone through to now have the conversation with Anne. But before we get started, I forget to say this, so I'm going to ask you, please do, if you like the content, if you like what you're hearing, the women who are showing up in the podcast, sharing very vulnerably and honestly their stories, their wisdom, their challenges, really to support you, to support all of us as we're on this roller coaster journey of life, doing our best. So I'd love if you hit subscribe, like, share, all the usual stuff to help the podcast grow and reach as many people who need to hear it as is meant to be. So welcome, Anne. Thank you for being here. So
Thank you
delighted
so
finally.
much. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on your podcast finally.
Finally, I know it's been a journey for both of us.
So yeah, it's great. Yeah. And I suppose to tell a little bit about myself. It was so interesting you were saying there about sharing your podcast. I suppose I'm here to share my own wisdom and my own connection with um how I how I suppose I've grown and developed as a parent, as a person, as a wife, and where I've gone on a bit of a journey really,
Mm.
uh led by my children, where they had learning difficulties and they got their report saying their issues, what they had. And I always suppose intuitively knew there was other help out there that they needed. And I really do, wish and implore parents to always look for other help that is not necessarily one road fits all for all children. At the time, I was working in accounts office as a hotel accountant and loved my role, but in some way, I knew my time was very close to an end there as well, because I could feel I was getting very tired, run down. I didn't really have very good self-care as a mum. I wasn't very present with my children. And I really needed to step back and see what the fuck is life all about as a mom, as a person.
Mm.
So
When
kind of
was this, Anne? When did that all start?
that's about maybe 8 years ago, I think, about 8 years ago. Um, and I went in a bit of a discovery of myself. Um, so I always remember um, seeing this thing online. It was integrated energy therapy day. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. So I didn't look at it. It was just this gut instinct. I suppose I've always trusted my gut. It's kind of like my barometer for what I need to do or where I need to go. And I went, I booked it, not having a clue what it was. It was like a healing day, a day for yourself, just to be with yourself. And I always remember sitting on the couch the night before, looking it up, well, what do I need to bring? Do I need to do anything? And it was a day where you were connecting in with the angels. On one level, it was alien to me, but another level, it was a knowing. It was like, yeah, this feels right. I didn't really understand the process. And to be honest, I didn't need to know it either. I just needed to be led. I needed to follow my intuition and go with it. And it's from there, I suppose, and talking to other parents and I suppose other practitioners, where I discovered that there was other ways of helping my children to be the best version of themselves and not having their learning difficulties impact them and stop them from being confident and comfortable and connecting in with their body. And that's kind of where it all started, really. So I've trained in so many things.
I
When you're
know. I was reading, I said, there's too many to read out.
I've trained in so many things because I suppose I wanted to get a deeper understanding of the body and how the body works
Mm,
and how we connect with the body. And also, when I started this journey, I realized that and me as a parent and a mom and an individual, I needed to do work on myself first before I could even stand in front of my children and say, you need to do this, this, and this, or stand and be a therapist. So I had to go on my own healing journey. I had to work on my own body, my own physicality, my own emotions, my own mentality, um, all of those things. Because as a parent, and I do say it to parents who come to me, that if we have no tools in our toolbox to regulate ourselves, it's very hard for our children to regulate themselves because they have no model to look at, no model to realize, you know, mom is actually calm today, mom is expressing herself today, mom is comfortable and connected with herself today. Our children are very much in tune with our energy. And it's only through the journey when I reflect back that I could see that with my own children, that they were very much connected into my energy and how I was feeling. I always remember one of my children, I would be sitting at the kitchen table and I might have been having a cup of tea or whatever and just probably off in my own world. And my child would come in and say, Mom, are you okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? Am I okay? Like, but on some level I wasn't. But my child knew, just instinctively knew by maybe my energy, how my body image was, my facial expression, whatever it was. My child just knew that there was something wrong. And literally 5 minutes later, I could just feel this. I'm like, oh, how the hell
wow.
did
Do you
they
think it's
know?
particularly children and mothers? I know where some people are more sensitive and tune in maybe than others, or just have tapped into those gifts more. I think we all have that ability when we
Mm.
peel back all the layers, but just naturally some of us are more attuned. Do you think regardless, it's just something we're so naturally attuned to? Because I suppose survival from the day we're born, we need to be tuned into our primary caregiver, don't we?
Well, I suppose that I gave birth to them. They were conceived,
Yeah.
I carried them for 9 months. So I suppose as the four children I have, they're deeply connected to their mother. They're also connected to their father, but in a different way. But I suppose I brought them into the world,
I
you
know
know,
the physical,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
through, and then I suppose when I'm doing an assessment on a child here, I'm looking at, I suppose, what was the mom's self-care like before she got pregnant, when she was pregnant, um, how did she look after herself during the pregnancy, and then afterwards, did the child have natural movement? Did the child, how was the child's experience in their environment after that? And I suppose when I look back at mine, I was working full time. I No, self-care, I knew what it was, but I didn't practice it.
Mm.
And I did my best to manage my own stress level, but on some level they would have took it on. But I wasn't aware of that at the time because when you're a busy mom, you're trying to, I suppose, tick all the boxes. You've got to go to work, you've got to pay your bills, you've got to do your housework, you've got to visit family, friends, all of that kind of stuff. And you don't really think about the actual physicality of the body or connecting in with the body and see what the body needs.
Mm.
Um, and I think that is so important for us mums, especially to be really in tune with how we're feeling, how we're being in the world. Are we present with ourselves? Are we present with the people around us? I think that's so important. I
Yeah.
think that's a piece as mums we miss. We're kind of And I see it, and it's no, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but moms like to be busy. We like to be busy. It's kind of like ingrained in us, conditioned in us. Busy, 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 busy,
Busy
busy.
is good.
Yeah, and we nearly tell us
Yeah.
busy is good. And to be honest, it's not really, because we're not actually giving ourselves a break from the busy. We're not actually standing back and just being. I think if we're being more and present with ourselves more, we don't have to be busy. Things will just flow. We'll get the jobs we need to get done. We don't have to be in that busy energy where we have a list a mile long to complete in our day. Now I look, I go there too. I know what it's like, but I do try and practice not to be in that busyness, and
Yeah.
just be with what I need to do, and really look after myself and look after my own self-care, be it whatever it is I need in that day. Every day is different. Um, excuse me. So yeah, so that's kind of where where I'm at really with it all, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, I do find us mums just really need to step back and see, what is this all about? What do we need to do? You know,
Yeah.
do we need to go on our own self-healing journey? And I suppose when I went on the self-healing journey, I realized that if I clear and heal my stories within me, I'm not passing it on to my children, and it's not up to them then to carry the mantle to heal it. So I suppose for
You're
me,
cleaning the blackboard, are you? Cleaning
yeah,
the
I'm trying to
sort
wipe
of.
it clean as
We're all
much as
doing our best.
possible. As
It's
much as possible.
generational. Sorry, Anne. It's just straight away the image comes to me. I don't have children, but I obviously have a mother. Everybody's a mother or had a mother. Someone brought them into the world, and it's no judgment or anything at all. But everybody, because we've lived lives, we've had parents who've had their issues, and our grandparents and our grandparents. But really, to me, what it feels like is, in as much as possible, it is taking responsibility for this, body and life that we have, regardless of what's happened. Some people I know have had very difficult experiences, but it's the greatest gift we can give, as you said, to our children and in the world, isn't it? Really, that, and ourselves, to
Yeah,
to just sort of clean up. It's the nature of being human.
yeah. And I
Pretty
suppose we go
messy.
through experiences. We all have a different path. We all have different experiences. Some of us have more shitty experiences than others, but that's the path we've been sent on, I suppose, if you want to call
Or
it that,
chosen,
and
I would argue.
are chosen.
In my case,
Yeah.
I would, I think that's very, well, sorry, that's a choice, I suppose, I made to look at it that way. Nobody has to look. You can look at it whatever way you want to, but I'm finding it challenging but empowering, isn't it? When
But
you know,
it's, but I think it's nice to know you have a choice, like you can either choose to go down that road or you can choose to go a different road.
Mm. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's simple
all are
enough.
valid.
Yeah, and I mean, it was really interesting. I was just reflecting today when I was younger, and I always remember when I finished college, and I did a business studies degree. And when I finished college, I came back and I kind of worked on a CE scheme, and I was teaching um, adults how to use a computer. And I really loved it, really, really loved it. But I picked a choice to go down the business and train as an accountant, and that was the choice I made at that time. I didn't really tune into my feelings and realize, well, actually, um, teaching people and empowering people is more where it gives me joy, where more I feel empowered in that area. Um, so it's just really interesting that that came up today.
But you were
So
empowering people, it sounds like, in that way.
yeah, so I am now. But I
As,
have
yeah.
to
But
to
even
go full
then, in a
circle.
different, yeah.
Yeah, I had to go full circle to find it. You know what I mean? And I suppose we all have experiences along the way where we're given the opportunity to look at, to clean, to heal, whatever it is, or we can just stay on the roundabout and keep going and just, not really give that experience any time or any be present with it to see, well, what is it I feel? What emotion is coming up? Especially if it's the same story that's repeating over and over and over again. and you're like, this is happening to me again. But sometimes we don't have the awareness to come off the roundabout and say, right, what am I going to do this time? Am I going to do something different? Will I take a different road, or will I just get back on the roundabout and keep going?
What led you to that? Is it that, as you said, was it the issues that you were having? You said the difficulties your children were having in school. You said you were trusting your gut. So something, obviously, did it come to a head?
Well, it didn't really come to a head as such. It was this knowing that I had to work on myself. It's just an inner knowing. I remember when I traveled to Fermanagh to a child centre method training weekend, and this is where I suppose my knowing was I needed to find out about primitive reflexes. And I remember traveling up that day. I was late. I didn't like driving, hated driving. Like Fermanagh is maybe 3 to 4 hours from
Yeah,
myself.
it's good. Mm.
So, and I always remember walking in completely disheveled, like you swear I was dragged through a bush backways. And I remember the lovely lady, she sat me down, she made me a cup of tea and she made me feel so welcome and she relaxed me. And I said, oh God, this is lovely. Do I have to go up to this training? So up I went. And that weekend was a big aha moment because it really showed me about what my body was doing, what my central nervous system was doing all the time, and um, keeping me in fight and flight mode, really, and always trying to protect me and keep me safe when there was no need for. And then when I think about the driving, like driving really made me very, very tired because I was putting so much energy into it, and keeping my hands on the wheel and keeping my head steady. You know what I mean? It's like, because but when you've got some of your primitive reflexes, when they're still active in the body, what happens is when you're driving, and if you turn, you get distracted and you turn your head, you might actually notice that the car comes with you. So you're not able to identify your head. You're not able to isolate your head from the rest of your body. So your hands should be still where it is when you move your head. So, and that's kind of what I suppose when I realized that, and then I suppose as I grew up, did not like sports at all. Never played sports, and my mom tells me that I would always come to her for a note for PE because I always felt awkward and body image was an issue, self-esteem was an issue, and because I was so awkward, I was picked on. And that's just nature. That's what happens. It's nothing wrong with that. But at the time, I just wanted to avoid all that because I wasn't able to deal with it. So mum would always write me a PE note and I'd be sitting out of PE happy as Larry because that was my compensatory tool. I did not want to put myself into that arena and bring this stress up in the system. And then, you're just kind of always on alert. Oh God, is she going to say something? Is she going to say something? Is she going to, you just have this going in your head all the time. And it's actually very tiring. And you're putting your energy into protecting yourself all the time and not putting your energy in to enjoying what you're doing and playing the sport. So I discovered my own central nervous system was immature. My own learning was impacted as well because I had a poor motor vocabulary of the body, really, because I just couldn't move my body in a certain way. And then also my eyes, I would have to read something maybe 3 or 4 times before I would get it. And I always remember in secondary school, there was this boy, and he just instantly, when he read something, he instantly had it. He instantly could just express what he read. He could recall what he read. And I was like, wow, how come I can't do that in my own head? But then I just carried on thinking, this is just the way I am. This is what I'm presenting with. And I just have to go and just get on with it as such,
Mm.
and go with it. So, I mean, I always describe that what I do is like a house. You've got your primitive reflexes, which are a group of reflexes that we come out into the world with as a baby. They help us to survive. And then when through natural movement they develop and they go to sleep back in the brainstem. We don't need them anymore unless we've had a serious accident, trauma to the higher centers of the brain. That's when they come back online again because we need them to survive, um, so that the brain and the body can recover, rehabilitate, and then they go back to the brainstem, or they stay in the brainstem and they go back to sleep again. So that's your postural reflexes, or your primitive reflexes, sorry. And then you've got the walls of the house, which is your postural reflexes. And they're all to do with your subconscious and your subconscious control of your posture, your balance, and your coordination. Like, we need to be able to stand up tall, but we don't tell ourselves to do that. The subconscious does that automatically for us. So if I suppose your primitive reflexes aren't stable, how do you expect the walls to be stable? And then I suppose the roof of the house then is the learning, your visual, your auditory, and they will come online, but there'll always be issues there unless you sort out the walls and the foundation. And I suppose,
Beautiful image. Sorry, it's just so you're talking really the first, I'd say one of the layers or that sort of physical structure and framework that we have before you get into anything else, emotional or beliefs or
yeah,
experiences. It's a really, because I've never heard it described that way. I think it's really important that if that isn't functioning well, as you said, it probably can lead into other issues because like that, say you were not playing football or whatever, I can't play because I have this issue, there's something wrong with me, you're sitting to one side. Now someone else might suddenly feel really isolated and then this whole belief could develop, God, I'm not good enough, you could
yeah,
just see all the knock-ons that can
yeah, the
come
knock-on effects of it
if you
all. Yeah,
don't
yeah.
get this. So is it, again, can I just ask, so that then you're saying that structure, but the primitive reflexes, the sort of the nervous, everything functioning can be affected by just what happens in the womb, really, isn't it? Is it, or an
Yeah,
after
it
birth,
can be. Yeah, yeah,
unbeknown,
it
or
can
just
start
when
from
you're
there.
born?
Sorry, Celine, I'm
No,
talking over
no,
you.
you're okay. Or when you're
Yeah, it
born,
can
is that?
start from there, but it's like there's like a path to it. It's not necessarily that. There could be several reasons. But generally, a healthy full-term baby that comes out with a natural delivery will come out with their reflexes activated, and then they will integrate through natural movement. But if there's something along the way then that kind of knocks that out, then your primitive reflexes might not integrate like they should.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's when you'll have maybe issues with your motor functioning of the body, issues with how you manage the senses that you have, how
Yeah.
you manage incoming senses coming into the body. Are
Yeah.
you able to process them? If you're not, how do you react and respond to that then, or
It's
when
very
you
fundamental, isn't it? Like, I'll just say for listeners, I've had a number of sessions with Anne, and just on the first one, just touching in on that, because I'd never had an assessment like that done. And it was very interesting. You just see, like, it's really, as you said, looking at the foundation. I didn't realize you were showing me with your eyes, being able to wink with both eyes, and I can't, and how that really then can start to influence your perspective or how you're seeing things. Maybe you're not seeing things clearly.
yes,
That was a
yeah,
really big revelation for me. I still
yeah,
can't wink with that other eye, so there's obviously work still to do. And maybe I won't fully, but an awareness was
and
brought.
you will,
Yeah, but a bit of practice, which I a bit of discipline, Celine, but it still brought awareness to, okay, maybe I amn't seeing the full picture at times in my life, even just for that insight to come in. Yes, we can work on these and all of that, but it was just it was very profound, even that just one session to gain that awareness. Maybe I'm not always seeing things, we can convince ourselves we are, it's just on another level, I know, we're not because we're all seeing different perspectives. But I just thought that was really, so that's how you would work, obviously, then with children and with adults as well. Is it?
yeah,
Is it one of
yeah.
the first things you would do?
Well, I mean, I have so many tools in my
I
toolbox.
know.
I mean, so it's like, it's really, I suppose I'm connecting in with the body all the time, and the body is telling me what it needs. Um, but it would be something I would check with most people is their primitive reflexes, because it's a tool to tell me, have they missed a stage in their development, and do they need a certain movement to kind of correct that and improve their functioning. Um, so it's just a tool, really. So it
Yeah.
gives me more information about what's going on for that person. And so I can describe then and explain to them, this is how you're presenting, this is what your central nervous system is doing. Like, I mean, they may be
Can you give
coming
me an
from,
exact, maybe it might be nice to share if you can, even a sort of a story or a solution or situation where maybe, particularly with the primitive reflexes, just to give listeners a sense of how it can support.
so it's,
Yeah.
so there's a boy there was a girl that came to me, and she would have had issues with sound. She could not, she'd be in a playground with her mum, and if she heard another child crying, literally she would have to leave the playground. She wouldn't be able to stay there. She could not withstand the sound of that child. It just really grated on her. And so she came to me, and we did some work around her MARA, which is her fight and flight response. So literally she responded, get me out of here. I cannot, I have no way of coping with this person, or I can't just manage myself so that I can actually be and discriminate the person or the child crying in the background. So we worked on her marrow, and she did a round of sound therapy as well, so that her brain and her vestibular system were able to respond and adapt to sounds that were coming in, so she could process them a bit better. And the mum texted me after one round of sound therapy and doing her Mara reflex that she could go to the playground, and she could just be there. The mum didn't have to be on alert, waiting if a child is going to cry. We've got to go, So for her, it was massive, because then the mum could be present herself with her child and not be on alert, wondering if a child cries, I know, to pack up and go. And the child can just be a child and just play in the playground and not be tuning in to all the other sounds around them. Um, there was a boy who came to me, and he found it very hard to express himself in a conversation when he'd be out in the playground. And he'd always feel very awkward, or feel very, um, yeah, he just felt awkward. And again, through working through the reflex with him, he's able to have a conversation with the children in the playground, and able to stand up for himself, able to express himself. And he just is more confident in himself. And that's, I suppose, for me, that's the joy I get.
Oh my
In
God.
children
Yeah.
are so confident, comfortable in their own bodies, connecting in with themselves, so they can just be and not have all this other shit that goes on around them where they have to try and manage it. They can just be in the body and just flow with it. Yeah.
Wow. God,
Yeah.
what you're describing there to me is magnificent, really. Just thinking of the future and the future generations and where we're headed, really, as a humanity, I think, is all about sovereignty. Sovereignty. We're evolving, into our full potential. I think that's
Yes.
really where we're
Yes.
headed, and where many have, are further along than others. But the idea, that children, it just really, I get it so much now, this sort of this feeling of this, if your structure, your vessel, your foundation isn't functioning to support you, you can't be present, you can't flow with life, you can't listen to your intuition. Well, it's interrupted, you can, but
It's interrupted.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
interrupted
You
or
still can.
impacted.
Yeah.
Of course, we can still feel things, but it's just like, wow, like that's just phenomenal. Like the impact for children growing up now, and where, when they head out into the world, it's like you've got your really strong foundation functioning well. Um, can I ask you, related to that, because it is something we're seeing more and more of, and I think we've spoken about it, there's more and more children, I suppose, with different labels or different difficulties and challenges coming in.
Yeah.
How do you connect that with the work you're doing, or how do you see it?
But with these challenges that and I don't label any child coming into me. If they come in with the label, I'm coming in and I'm looking at their central nervous system, their body, and how does their body respond when we go through the assessment, really. Um, and literally, I mean, it's all the labels are connected into an immature central nervous system, and it needs to be matured, be it through movement, be it through sound, be it through nutrition, because nutrition is really important as well. And be it just, them finding tools and techniques to be able to relax themselves. Um, so
So
yeah,
regardless, really, I mean, I know there's can be many different things going on,
there's
but
many different
of
things going
course, I
on, yes,
know.
but
Yeah.
it's all connected back to your central nervous system. And
So there are probably
um,
many adults, I can speak for myself, I have mentioned when I was diagnosed with cancer, but I knew my central nervous system was just like on, I don't know what, but I knew something was way off. I was like burning is the only way I could feel it. So there's so
yeah,
many, I suppose this work as well you do with adults as well as children, don't
exactly, yeah, because I mean,
you?
I started with myself.
Yeah.
And going through the process, knowing my own adrenals were shot, and I was in fight and flight, cortisol and adrenaline were going all the time. But I didn't know that at the
Yeah, it's
time.
most
That I
people.
just,
Yeah.
I just was in that flow of working full time, being a full-time mom, being a mom, and being a wife, um, and then trying to take care of a home. So, it was just this, you know, to me, when I look back at it now, it was mad, but that was just the way my body was wired at that time. And now I'm just more at peace. Um,
What
I'm not,
happened is you did that work. So you did the primitive reflex work and you said, looking at the central nervous system. And where did that take you then that's led you to now?
well, I'm playing badminton now, which I've never played a sport in my life before.
That's fairly
Uh,
active.
I feel a lot comfortable and connected in with my body. So before I ever did this work, I used to be walking, but I never really liked it at all. I knew it was good for me on some level, but I never actually felt comfortable in the body to walk and just be with the body. I was probably walking awkward when I look back on it now, because I wasn't walking symmetrically, left hand, right leg. It was probably very awkward. So doing a lot of the work on myself, doing the exercises, working on my own stories has really helped me to be more calm, comfortable, and connected with myself. And then I suppose I can see it in my kids who are able to regulate themselves a lot better. Because if you're physically comfortable in the body, you're going to be emotionally comfortable in the body as well, um,
Wow.
because
Yes.
you've got that connection. Um, and they are, playing sports as well, and they swim, and, like all of those things that I suppose I wish I had learned to do when I was pushed to do, Um,
So how
so
has it emotionally then played a part? Because I can see how it's just so interesting. I think for when I think of healing now, I think I was saying this to you before, it's just really come up for me recently. I think of coming more into wholeness, and I never really
yeah,
knew what that was. But I'm feeling like the more I'm doing work and the work I've been doing with you, I keep getting an image of I'm going down in an elevator, another layer. And
yeah,
when I do that, sometimes something comes up because obviously, as you said, everything's in the body, everything's held in the body. So something may come up that just was never processed, could be an
yes,
emotion, an experience, could be anything. And I'm sort of rattled a bit and I get a bit sort of, oh, but what I'm noticing as I do that and it's sort of, and I'm more comfortable being physically in the body and supported, and I release these things, parts of me are coming back. It's the only way I can describe it. And it might sound funny to people going, well, who were you before? But there's like a different, a sort of a strength or a fire or a wisdom and there's something coming back is the only way I see that. There's obviously aspects of us when we're wounded or something happens that sort of we jump out of the body. When you talk about the immature nervous system, we pop out fight or flight, maybe aspects of us we go, oh, I can't be like that. Oh, when I was like that as a child, I was ignored or something. So there's
Yeah.
aspects that start, is that a part of what you see or
Well, I suppose we respond better to how
mm,
we're feeling in the body and our emotions instead of reacting all the time.
mm,
That's kind of how I would see it. And I suppose no better place to test it all out is when you're in a family environment or when you're in a family occasion and you come across a family member, who may have triggered you before. And no better place to see, well, where am I at now with this family member? How am I going to respond or how am I going to react? Um, do I have I done my forgiveness work in relation to that family member or in relation to myself, and where I can be at peace with the situation and whatever happens and let go of it and just be, so you can just be and respond and not react and go, whatever way, or say things that you shouldn't say and do things you shouldn't do. So I think that's a really good place to test it all out. So you kind of know,
of course it is.
how far you've come really on the journey and where how emotionally connected you are into the body. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But if there's been a lot of, I get that, and I just see the importance of that work, the primitive reflex work, and, y- you know, that safety, I suppose, if someone has had an experience, whatever the experience is, that's been quite traumatic, I suppose you nearly have to, don't you, do that nervous system work first before you can say, well, off you go into that situation now and see how
Yeah,
well.
oh God, yeah. You couldn't send them into it. Oh no.
No,
No,
I
you
know.
couldn't do that to them.
But it's
But I
possible, I
suppose
suppose
it's
sometimes that those things can feel almost impossible and you know, but it's like it's the body and the nervous system I suppose trying to keep us safe really that we
yeah,
pop out and run away.
yeah. Or we just avoid the situation
Yeah.
and don't go, you know. And it's releasing that numbness we have, so that we can feel. Um, that's what I
That's a
do.
big thing,
But
actually. Sorry, and just when you say numbness, I would get
yeah,
the sense, and I don't know if you see this with clients, it was definitely my experience for years being numb, that it just literally it was all too much to feel,
yes,
just too much. Is that something you see a lot of? And how do you
yeah.
support it? How do you support that, waking that up?
Well, I suppose it's providing a safe environment for them to come in first, so that they know they can just be. And I suppose through the sessions we're working through how they're feeling, and it's all connecting into the body and how they feel. Um, how do you feel about the story? How do you feel about yourself? And it's getting them to start to feel, because the feeling is there, but we might not associate anything with it. We may feel, and it could be anywhere in the body, not necessarily we'd always think of the gut or the stomach. The feeling could be anywhere,
Mm,
and or the pain could be anywhere. And then it's really, I suppose, peeling back those layers and asking them, what do you feel there? And just starting there so that they're opening that door to their feelings and gently moving in and seeing what it is. Um, that's kind of how I would tackle the numbness.
yeah.
Um, and it takes time. It's not because they may have been numb for so long, um, that sometimes it's a scary place to actually go in there and see, oh God, that's how I feel. All right, okay. And sometimes we don't go there. So, we can disassociate from as well and kind of leave the body and just not connect in with the body and feel physically connected.
Yeah. I get
Um,
this. I just say to listeners as well, I've been to Anne many times and I'll be going back. And the experience of firstly the safe space, I think, as you said there, is so important. And I felt so safe. I don't think you can underestimate the importance of being in the presence of a person or people who can hold that space for you, and they can only do it if they've done their own work and are
Yeah.
able to be there in that. So it's such a huge gift to give people. I can't, you just can't overvalue, because nothing happens, I think, until you feel safe. And I felt safe the minute I walked in the door to you. So thank you. And
Thank-
the other amazing thing, it's just because I thought about this before, as you said, you work with so many modalities, and we could list them all out here, but we won't list them all out, but there's many, and I will be putting them here in the description afterwards,
Thank
just to see where Anne has where her work has brought her. But I think you're very much the sort of epitome of, how would I describe it? Where not where we're going with healing, that we're going beyond, the way, as you said, you don't really work in labels. So I think when you're going to someone who's just pulled in, is sort of innately a healer. I think that's who you're here to be, like physically working with people in this way, in empowering them. And it's just whatever tools you need have come to you, and that there's no need to label you anything. And I think someone had said that to me before. In the future, we won't need to be saying, I'm a this, I'm a kinesiologist, I'm a such and such. You just know you're drawn to the person who you
Yeah.
connect with,
Yeah.
and they will pull in. That's what I loved going to you, is you just seem to go over to that shelf, if you're watching, that Anne has behind her, and she'd pull something off the shelf. I was like, what is it now that she's pulling? But everything was just so uniquely tuned, you were so tuned in, like, and helped me tune in to what was needed. And
Mm,
I think that's the key. It's really empowering ourselves, isn't it? Our body has
yeah,
all this innate wisdom.
for sure.
That's, isn't it?
That is very,
And
yeah.
kinesiology, could you talk a little bit about that? Because I know it's another tool, but to me, we should all know how to. And I'm going to, when you start training, I'm definitely going to do a class with you. But I mean, what a powerful tool to have to help
Yeah.
us tune in,
And
isn't it?
it is, it's really powerful. And I suppose when I started the journey, I I I suppose dipped my toe into kinesiology, and I kind of went a roundabout way um doing it, and I learned muscle testing, and I was like, wow, 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 wow. It's a way of communicating with the body. It's so natural, and it's communicating with the body. And I mean, you find out whether it's a physical thing, an emotional thing, a spiritual thing, nutritional thing, whatever it is the body's need. And the body's communicating, I suppose, through kinesiology, through the muscle testing, and it's so innate, and it's tapping into that wisdom of the body. So it's like, you're not in your head, I'm not in my head. It's literally the body is telling us what it needs through the muscle test. And I think that's
That's the
the beauty
future.
of it.
One of the elements. I know people have been doing kinesiology for years, but the
Yeah,
more the more even I've experienced, I'm like, this is the future. This is empowerment, where you
yeah,
can get to the stage where you can do it for yourself, or someone can do it with you, and you can literally ask your body what's going on. What do you need
yeah.
right now?
And
That's
the thing is, like, it's as simple as when you're in, like getting your nutritional supplements, and there could be 5 brands of a B complex, or something, say, just take that for example. And you're asked, I mean, once you know kinesiology, you can ask the body, well, which one is more beneficial to me? Like, instead of just going in and taking one off the shelf and just going with that, you're really in tune with your body, and always communicating with your body all the time and what it needs. In the same way with food as well, we could be eating food that really isn't right for us. And that could be lowering our energy, and and impacting us in so many ways. And when you know how to, the simple tool of muscle testing, that's a tool you'll have for life, that you can just identify, well, actually, my body doesn't really want this, and maybe to take a break from it for a while, and then come back and see, again, does the body really like this? Is it lowering my energy? Is it boosting my energy? Um,
And do you think everybody can do kinesiology for
oh God,
themselves?
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't see why not. It's just, but again, you have to have your awareness. You have to be open to it. Like the tool is there. Like, so there's so many tools out there that I think mums and dads should have in their toolbox, in their first aid kit to be able to help their children. And
Yeah.
kinesiology is one of them, like you can have your own first aid homeopathy kit, you can have your own essential oils.
I
There's so
know.
many things out there that you can have, um, that
When the
should be
door
part of our
opens,
toolbox.
doesn't it? It's like that now for me. I found once the door starts to open in whatever way it does for you
Yeah,
into a more holistic, let's say, it's not saying you don't go. If you want to go to your doctor, go to your doctor. This isn't an either or. It's again about empowerment, isn't it? And choice. But knowing that there is a way that you can work with your body and your health in a much more holistic, natural way, I would feel, personally, is like, it's definitely has to be, I don't know, it's just so important, I think, now for the times we're living in. And as you said, with parents, what other ways, like you're primarily working with families, Anne, do you want to talk?
primarily with families, because I mean, if a child is coming to me, I tend to work with the family as well. So, um, because the child needs to feel that mom and dad are doing some work as well, and be it as simple as doing the exercise to help their own body release whatever is going on, or going off doing your own work, looking at your own stories, it's all really beneficial um, for the child, and for the overall outcome is for that child to reach its full potential. So I think as parents, we should be reaching our own full potential as well through the work the child is doing too. So I don't see why it should, the child, I think it is leading the parent to reach their full potential as well.
Yeah, you
So
sort of said that at the beginning. I thought the minute you said it was because of your own children having some
yeah,
difficulties
yeah,
in schools that you were led on this path. So it's just so
yeah.
interesting. We are sent what we need. It's different for everyone, aren't we? That sort of wakes that up maybe in us that, like, okay, what you've been doing isn't working anymore. We need to look at. I think that nearly in a lot of cases has to happen for all of us in some way. Not that you'd
It
wish
does, yeah.
anything bad on anyone, but fortunately or unfortunately, often the most amazing lessons and gifts that we get do often come out of something difficult because we may not go there otherwise, and we don't look for them. But when it is there for us, if we choose it, I suppose, and are open to it, isn't it? It's
Oh, for sure. But we wouldn't go there unless we were led or pushed there. Um, and that's how, and I am so grateful, I suppose, to my children for doing that.
And what
For
would they say to you now? How are they now when you say like they went through their own challenges? How have you seen the changes in them, for parents maybe and people who are listening going, gosh, my child maybe has a difficulty with whatever or has been given a particular label.
they're very confident in themselves. Whatever learning difficulty they have, it's not going to hold them back. Um, They're very sure of themselves, they're very emotionally secure and physically secure in the body. They're connected in with their own intuition. They know exactly what they want. I mean, what more do you want outside of that, really?
Magical.
Um, they're just really confident, secure, and safe in themselves. And I mean, I what
These are the
more? I
children
couldn't
I
ask for anything more as
know.
a parent, really. Um, So yeah, that's kind of that, and to me, that's they've empowered me to be the best version of me, and they're empowering themselves to be the best version of themselves as well. So
And without, I don't want to be sort of revealing anything personally about your children or anything, but what sort of would you get a sense, and from working with young people as well, or does it come up, what their sense of, the world and life and where we're going and do you get any sense now that they're very tuned in, they're obviously seeing things quite clearly that maybe we can't? Are there,
I I just think they're so connected, and I suppose what they've always, my own children have always told me is, Mommy, we want you to be present with us. Literally, presence is all they ever wanted from me. And instead of me being on a phone or being the busy mom, that's all they've ever asked for is presence. And me just sitting down, having a cup of tea, glass of water, sitting down, be present and talking to them. That's it. Like, and that they've always said that to me. And it never really dawned on me until I did the work. And like, if I can't be present with myself, how the fuck am I supposed to be present with anybody else? Really, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, the phones are just another distraction, really, from us being present with ourselves, really. Um,
It is a
and we
sort of
can get lost.
epidemic, isn't it, nearly? Because,
Yeah, and we can get lost in the phone. And look,
yeah.
I'm a culprit to it myself. You know, I do sometimes do too much scrolling that's really not beneficial for me. But they always pull me back and say it to me, which is, you know, it's always good to have.
Oh,
So
that's incredible. Your children pulling you back from the phone. Oh my God.
yeah, yeah. Say, Mom, you know, we want you to do this, or we want you to be present with us,
Wow.
or, you know, so
Wow.
um and I think it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think that's what most of us want. All of us. I mean, there's nothing, as I said, like you holding a safe space. I mean, someone doesn't have to be formally saying, I'm holding a safe space, but by being sort of present with you, everything, it's like the magic pill to me. It's like it just suddenly, when you can drop into that space in yourself, and with someone else, your body just goes, it just does what it needs. It's like at a cellular
Exactly.
level, it's like, okay, safety here. I can do what I need to do now to come back into homeostasis or back into balance or to thrive or whatever needs to happen. It's down at that level, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like that for me, I can see. But the work is, isn't it? It's definitely within ourselves because where I found, and I'll just share because I think it's very relevant with the last session I think I was at with Dan, and it's sort of come up over the weeks I've been going through, and I've mentioned it before on the podcast. Just my mother has been unwell, and the journey that, speaking of mothers and children, we're never not, connected in that way, and I can feel her no matter where she is. I can just feel it, but I suppose there was a part of me that wasn't fully maybe able or ready or knew how to be present with what was really going on in me and how I was feeling. So I had a story up here about, oh, I'm very busy, I've lots to do, and I had some big story going on about what the issue was. And when Anne sort of was present with me, and again, as you said, asked me how I was feeling and brought me down a level, it was like, well, you know, the first feeling would be, oh my God, if I do that, I'll feel the love firstly for her. I'll really feel the love. And then beneath that was, well, then I'll feel the pain when she goes, if I let myself feel that. And I mean, that was, I sort of say it now, but it was so powerful, even though on some level I probably knew it, but I was up here in my head. And I think it's just more of us giving each other that permission to land in our bodies is so important, isn't it? That
Yeah.
because nothing happens up here other than going around and around, really, doesn't
And
it?
you're giving yourself permission to feel everything, you know. Um, it's like sometimes we have to feel the yuck first and to shine light on it and be present with it. And why am I feeling this way? And then once you forgive yourself for feeling that way and shine a light to it and say, I don't need to feel that way anymore, and just let it go, you know. But you know, there's a process to it. And then when you let it go, you just feel so much lighter and you're like, wow, it's you have to experience it really. It's knowing that you have, oh right, okay, like okay, I can move forward. I can, you know, I can just be now. Yeah. And then it's like, you know, as you said, it's the presence with the person. It's you're allowing yourself to love that person as well. And you're freeing yourself of conditional love and
Mm.
allowing yourself to feel and give and receive unconditional love. So um yeah, and it's really love is our natural inheritance, really, when you think about it. Like at the Course in Miracles, if anyone's done the Course in Miracles, they speak about that. And, you know, we all should be coming from a space of love,
Yeah.
unconditional love, not
Yes.
conditional, unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a
So
process, isn't it, of the layers coming off. I mean, I wonder, like your vision for where we're going, can I ask you, even just around health and just life in general, how would you how do you see that? How would you like to see it unfolding? Because this is how we create. I truly feel we need to talk about, I mean, you're doing it now.
I suppose what I would love is for the medical system and the educational system to empower themselves with this information. Um, I know the educational system, you know, there is teachings there on primitive reflexes and postural reflexes. It's all there, but um, it's never really come on board. Like I've seen it when I was doing my childcare practitioner course. I always remember I saw a page on primitive reflexes in the book. I got so excited. I was like, wow, God. But it was like it was completely dismissed. It was never given any attention or never really given the attention it deserves. Um, and that's what I would love if more teachers, principals, schools realize the impact that this has on children. And to kind of balance obviously the curriculum with the idea of giving the children more specific movement, not just movement like out playing sports, but specific movement that can help integrate and mature their central nervous system. Because all, you know, certain children need a certain movement to kind of help them release whatever it is that's going on in their body. And then I suppose for the medical system to do the same, because when we come out into the world as a baby, we come out in the startle response, the mono response, which is out like this, you know, and they do check for that, but they don't check any of the other reflexes to see if they're all still there. So, um, so I think if you know, in that's what I would love to see happening, you know, for them to, you know, for both of those systems to empower themselves with that information. Because I think once you start that journey, it'll just all drop in. It'll be just this knowing. Like I,
Yes.
you know, now that I know about primitive reflexes, I can't ignore it. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
So um it's just this knowing that, you know, this is really for me the crux of it all. And if you know hospitals or you know the medical system and the education system got on board with it, you know, and worked with whatever tools they had to kind of regulate the central nervous system, wouldn't it be just amazing, really? And then obviously you have your nutrition, because obviously nutrition would be an essential source as well, you know. So
I
um
could give a little bit of a cynical response, but I'll try not to. Not that I'm responding as to why that may, not you, but I know absolutely 1000% agree. I would share that. I suppose us completely in our knowing and staying connected. I interviewed another fabulous woman in England, Nikita Stark, who does a lot of work around birthing and free birth
mm,
and just, the impact all of these
fabulous,
things
yeah.
have on us. So, and the disconnections that can happen. And I know they happen in many different ways, but I suppose and I'm very, I think it's like people like you and all of us doing this work and speaking more openly about it and not being afraid really to call out certain things as well. I mean, there's always choice, but I think where systems are built on a profit only model in many cases, or sort of repeat coming back from more like treating symptomatic, I suppose, symptomatically more than root cause. And that to me, just from what you're doing, is really getting into the core so that someone can feel really connected and then they can go out into the world very strong and capable and
Yeah, oh, for
themselves. Isn't it?
sure. And I get, like, I mean, they've all had their teachings in those models, but I think it's up to us now who have this awareness to share it. Some people will be open to it, some people won't.
Yeah.
And that's their choice, that's the path they're on. But that's really what I would like to do, is to share this information, to go into schools and do programs, simple programs with, movement programs
Phenomenal.
that
Yeah.
they can do, that teachers can have themselves, and to be able to do that. So that then they have the tools themselves when they see a child who
Mm,
needs so much movement, who can't sit still in a classroom, um, who can't focus, their writing is poor, their reading isn't great. Um, all of those things, would be kind of prone to maybe having a lot of emotional issues, you
yeah.
know, sensory issues. And then they can kind of peel back the layers and say, okay, this is what's going on, this is what this child needs. Um,
Would
so
make for a
yeah,
better environment all around for teachers and children and everyone, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
and that's exactly it. Yeah. And
Overall.
I mean, you're doing a program that all the children will benefit from. It's not necessarily aimed at one child, but all the children will benefit from it in whatever way they need it, So even if it's to improve their own physicality, their own, motor skills in the body. Um, so that's what I would love to happen and see,
Well,
So
you're doing it.
if
You're
any schools
absolutely.
are out there that want it,
Yeah. Well, absolutely. We'll
we're
make sure.
open
Yeah.
to it,
Yeah. So that's your dream. You'd love to be, because you did work, didn't you, as an SNA for a while, did you?
I
A
worked as
special
an
needs
SNA for a
assistant
while.
for anyone who may not be in
Yeah,
Ireland and
that's
hasn't
it.
heard what that is. It's sort of a support teacher, isn't it, for children with extra needs
Extra
is that
needs,
right? In
yeah.
a classroom situation.
And it was so interesting when I was working in an autistic unit. I took this boy down to the sensory room, and literally all we did was movement. We just rolled, we did log rolls. And he came back into the classroom. He was a different child. He participated in the class. He was able to follow the teacher's instruction, and he was more calm. And I always remember that the teacher came on up to me and she said, "What did you do with that lad?" And I was like, I just moved him. We did log rolls. We had the best of fun. And the penny didn't drop, if you know what I mean, didn't drop with her. And I just thought she would, like, I was so enthusiastic. I said, wow, wasn't it brilliant? And it just never landed. It never landed with her. And she just didn't get it, that it was a simple movement that really that regulated him, um, so that he could express himself appropriately and follow the class. So if we, yeah,
Oh my
I
gosh, isn't
think
that just isn't that just fabulous to hear? And
it
maybe,
is, yeah.
yeah,
And I think, as SNAs could do more of that once they know what movement to give. And it's so
yeah,
simple,
really help them.
It would be, yeah, and
Yeah.
help themselves, because then they're not dealing with emotional tantrums, or, whatever it is they display in the classroom. They're better able to cope with whatever all the stimuli that's coming into them
Yeah.
through simple movement to help regulate them.
You're doing
Um,
very special work, Anne. I just get the feeling like our children, I know they say our children are the future, but they are, and it must be very challenging. When you're talking there about classrooms and everything, and I used to go out to schools, secondary schools, for about 10 years in a previous life. And look, the children were older, they were, mostly teens. But still, I just thought, God, all of this, there's just so much stimulation in the world. It's so fast, so much is expected of them. They're sitting all day, particularly for very young children. This pressure to be in a certain way and perform in a certain way. It's so hard. I just feel, and I'm not diminishing how much difficult it must be if you have a child with extra needs, but they're so, I really feel like you said at the beginning, they're here to teach us. Like this, these
For sure.
systems are not sustainable. They're not natural to us. Like we're talking here and you're talking on the podcast about all of these tools that you have naturally to support people come back into their body's wisdom and really come into their full potential. And it just
Yeah.
strikes me these systems aren't doing that. They may be doing certain things and they may be well intended, but it's just the children are showing us because there are more and more issues all the time like this, aren't there? Like it just seems to be getting more
Well,
challenging.
I mean, parents, if I mean, as parents, we know our children better than school system or the medical
Yes.
system. And again, it goes back to the simple presence. I think once we're present with our children, that inner knowing, that inner wisdom pops in, and then we realize what help we need to give our children. It's not up to the school, it's not up to the medical,
Mm,
it's
I
up
know.
to us as parents to be able to work out what our children need because we know them better than anybody else. And we shouldn't be given responsibility
Mm,
to the schools and to the medical model. We should be taking responsibility ourselves and figuring it out. What does my child need? You know, and then once you
maybe
ask
you
that
influence
question,
how
you
this
know,
model develops, over
yeah,
time. Because I suppose it is parents like you, parents who are very present and tuned in. And I know all parents are and feeling what their children needs, but that's how the systems change if, by you doing the work you're doing. I suppose it's parents who can influence how the system develops, can't it?
I suppose influence, but they're influencing themselves and their children. So they're
Mm.
going to take a better path,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
and take responsibility for what research they need to do, for what they need to find out. And once you take responsibility, it's like the information just lands, like something will come up. You're aware, once you, I suppose, bring your awareness to and your energy to that area, the information will land. Oh,
yes,
it does,
it
you
does.
know.
You're so right.
And,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's, yeah,
you just go with that then. Right, okay, let's follow, let's see where this brings me. And you'll get some teaching, you'll get some knowledge, you'll get something to put in your toolbox as a result of it. Um,
yes,
and it's just having the trust that as parents, you have everything you need to help your children, whatever it is. You just have it. You don't need outside help. Obviously, you may need it, if you need, there's something that you need help with, but we have all the tools. We just need to find where to go, what to do, you know,
yeah.
and let the information land in us. And then it just all flows after that.
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder, not to be pointing the finger out at the systems, this, that. That's what I'm learning as well. The more I do this work, the more I come back inside and land and feel whatever I need to feel, the information flows. It just
Yeah.
flows to us. What we need to do, or not do, or whatever it is, that is um, truly is the answer. Thank you, Anne, for reminding me to come back inwards when when I'm called to go out and point the finger. But such is
It's
life. Such
fine.
is life. Uh,
Exactly.
such is life. How we develop. Anything else you want to say before we finish up? I'll be putting in all your contact details because you work with people privately, like you did and do with me, and it's just been hugely beneficial. Any other tools that you want to mention that we haven't, because there are many that really stand out for you?
Um, I just think, if what I've said resonates with you, you'll come. I mean, doesn't matter what tool I have in my toolbox. I think it's the energy I'm holding, the vibration I'm holding, and if that resonates with you, happy days. You know, on some level that that's what you need. So it doesn't like I mean, I could tell you all the tools I have, Like,
I do love many of your tools though as well.
so I mean, look, it's really all about
I know.
the
Yeah.
vibration I'm holding, the frequency
Yes,
I'm,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know, and if that resonates with you, then, or if you need, need to be on that vibration, want to be leveled up on that vibration, then you know what to do.
Beautiful. It is a band. I sort of see it like, isn't it? It's a bandwidth, and you're just like different radio stations, and what you need comes to you, and in trusting that,
Yes.
which I did with you, and you feel it, and
Yeah.
that's how we're, I think, evolving and moving. I don't know if you've heard of the telepathy tapes. I think many listeners
Yes.
will
Yes.
have. And I just think of them when I listen to you, and the gifts of these children and where we're going and the potential within all of us, that many of, the work you're doing, I'm sure that the children are showing us like really what we're capable of, and such a high level of sensitivity that I suppose many of us maybe can't, and how difficult it must be to function in this world. I mean, I found it as a child, I was very sensitive, and I think I shut down as a result. It was too much. So I can understand now coming into an even noisier, faster, you know, world. But it's amazing, aren't they? Those
Yeah. And
views.
for people, if they want, I suppose, an idea of how sensitive children are, is to watch the telepathy tapes, so
You'll
you get
find them
an
on
idea.
YouTube.
Oh yeah, they're on
Yeah,
YouTube. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Um, if you wanted an understanding, I suppose, to see it like a visual representation, to see it what it's like. Um, but yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you
Well,
today.
thank you.
No, thank you for sharing your energy, your vibration, your story, and the work the amazing work you're doing. I don't forget, but I suppose I've been going to you as well as sort of a client, and I forget then all of the work that you've been doing on yourself and with your children and children in general and families. I mean, that's how the world changes, one person, one family at a time. So thank you for the work you're doing. Um, Anne is based in Galway, just on the edge of Galway City on the west coast of Ireland. So, for any one of you who want to connect in with her, I'm going to put all our contact details here. It is
Thank
primarily
you
in
so
person,
much.
isn't it? How you work at the
It's
moment?
primarily, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If
yeah,
people want to do it in Zoom, I'm open to that as well,
yeah.
but
And if there are
primarily,
anyone involved in a school as well, or the education system, or any system where, you're going, wow, this sounds amazing, and maybe there's some way we can work with you and you're open to
yeah, because
questions or inquiries.
yeah, so I'm hoping to work in schools and bring this knowledge into schools and create programs, design programs that can help improve the physical and emotional connection um, for kids and adults and the teachers, because the teachers may need it as well. Um, so yeah, so that
Thank
would
you.
be fantastic. Um, and then I'll be doing my attuning to full potential introduction, hopefully sometime in the autumn. So if anyone wants to learn how to do kinesiology, learn how to muscle test, not do kinesiology, but learn how to muscle test for themselves, and I suppose get a deeper knowledge of how to become a better version of themselves. So um, that will happen sometime in the autumn. I haven't set a date yet, but it'll be sometime in the autumn. So
Okay, fantastic. We'll keep an eye out for that.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, yeah, you have your email address. I'll put all those up so anyone again just can drop an email to you, I imagine,
brilliant.
on
Thank
social
you so
media.
much,
So
Celine.
I'll put all of those details up. I think I'll be on that list I did do some muscle testing training years ago. But I think the more as well, I'm not going to go off on another tangent now, but I just think what I found personally, the more you go deeper into, really being able to be fully in your own body and centered and grounded, all of this starts to come online naturally. It's just usually, any sort of emotional stuff that's going on or things held in the body can be, or we're up in the head. So I suppose that's
Yes.
what the training helps us do. So
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Not
Thank
at all.
you.
Thank you so much, Celine. And I really love your podcast and
Uh,
the work you're doing and connecting with all us women. It's fantastic. Fair play to you.
Thank you. We'll keep an eye out. We might all get together and have some form of a retreat. Who knows in the future? Because
That'd be
amazing
amazing.
women, yeah,
Yeah.
amazing women doing amazing things. So thank you all for listening, and until the next time, take care.